you do that? How did you do that?
Welcome back everyone to another ESO build video. Today is going to be the update to the Almost Immortal Warrior tank build. This is a Dragonknight tank for the Harrowstorm DLC. Now this has been out for about 3 years, first build I ever put out on the channel, and it's still running off of its base design. However, of course this has been updated. Now, if you're looking for Ebon and Alkosh, by all means use that, look for it and love it. But this is not one of those videos. This is done on purpose. I'm a creator, not a duplicator. So this is actually my own build, and this is something that you can choose to use or not. It's capable of all content. It's done all content. However, this has a very specific purpose. This is a very beefy tank. He's built to survive. He's built to sustain. And also, this can protect the group. As a tank, technically, you're the one that's supposed to be getting the big hits. So you should be able to take them. At the same time, you're supposed to be protecting your group. Your role is the protector. Yes, you can add buffs and bonuses and all that kind of stuff to help enhance the performance of your group in terms of their damage output if you choose to. But your first port of call is to make sure that your group doesn't get hit by the big stuff. And this can provide that. And at the same time, it can also provide much needed damage shields and heals if your group is struggling. There are choices. Now, first of all, we're going to go into the stats, make sure we've got everything running, resistance and all that good stuff. We are on 11.7k max magic, 46.5k max health, and 19.8k max stamina. We're on 1842 recovery, and we're on 32k spell resistance and 30.6 physical. Now, if you get a minor buff for that, you'll actually almost hit cap for both of them. One of them will be a little off, but the other will go straight over. 64 points into max health. You can change this if you want to. However, just bear in mind, if you change your health to stamina in any way, shape or form, or any other stat, you are going to lose out on your max health bonus, and that will affect some of the skills negatively that do scale off of max health. Now, we are using the Ritual Munda Stone, and we are a stage 4 vampire. We do use vampire abilities actively, so you want to make sure this is 4. However, you don't have to have this if you don't want to, but you are going to affect your sustain and your survival depending on which passives you do or don't have access to at the time. Max health, max stam, food. Very straightforward, but you can change this if you choose to. We are using this stuff, blue, basic, loads of health, loads of stamina. However, if you want to change to this food, which will give you much more mag recovery, which you can do, and it gives you a little health boost as well, same as this one in fact, you will duck out of stamina, so you need to be much more on top of your sustain. However, if you've got a potion running and everything at once, you'll notice that our mag recovery has gone up to a whopping 2.5k. That will give us the ability to spam our magic-based abilities that are not scaled off of max magicka, but scaled off of max health. So the higher your recovery, the more you can spam them. This has been the same design for the build for 3 years, by the way. This is not new, so if anyone's telling you it is, they just caught up really late. Anyway, as you can see, our stamina has gone down a considerable amount, so you will have to have heavy attack a lot more if you do this. The choice is yours, however, depends on how comfortable you are with the build, and depends on how comfortable you are with the content. Now, we're going to go into all the skills in detail. Everything is going to be explained, where they come from, what the morph is, and how to apply them. And of course, when we get to the gear, there are going to be a lot of options. So, first of all, we are using Igneous Shields. This is in the Earth and Heart skill line. Third ability to unlock starts off as Obsidian Shield, morph it to Igneous Shield. We have chosen this morph on purpose. Now, this does give the group a damage shield up to 6 people. They almost get 4k damage shield per person. Actually, if you've got minor toughness, this will crack 4k. But for you, your own damage shield is actually higher. You actually get a 10k damage shield. So you protect yourself and you protect your group at the same time. Now, it costs magicka, but it doesn't scale off of magicka. It scales off of your maximum health. So the higher your health is, the higher the shield. The lower your health, the lesser the shield. So if you want this to be a really strong protective buff for your group, this needs to make sure that you have high health in order for it to perform well enough. However, if you take the other morph of this skill, you'll get a higher mage and mending uptime, but you'll get a lesser damage shield. So just bear that in mind, it makes a big difference. Also, because it doesn't scale off of max magicka, it doesn't matter how large or small our pool is. What matters is how often we can use it. So, to be able to do that, we need high magic recovery, which we have. The higher our recovery, the more often you can use this. Bear in mind also, damage shields were, to some people, apparently nerfed a while back. No, they were buffed. The reason they were buffed is because before you used to take, say, for example, 4k damage in a shield and it would strip your 4k damage shield. Now it considers your resistances. So if you have, for argument's sake, 50% mitigation and you get hit for 4k, that only hits you for 2 and you've still got some damage shield left. Resistances are considered with damage shields, and they have been for quite a while now. So obviously the more that you have in terms of resistances, the stronger the shield that you've just received actually is. Also, these stack with other damage shields. So all you need to do basically to help your group is to keep this running. Always apply this whenever you have the spare magicka to do so. It will help. Next up is, of course, Green Dragon Blood. This is in our Draconic Power skill line. Third ability you unlock starts off as Dragon Blood. Morph it to Green Dragon Blood, not the other one. This one scales off of your missing health. The other one scales off of your magic and spell damage. This is actually a very strong buff to us while we have it active, so don't let this actually run out. This will give you major fortitude, major endurance, and minor vitality. So it increases your health recovery, your stamina recovery, and it gives you an 8% increase to healing received just for being active. Now, again, this isn't a flat heal. This is based off of your missing health. So, if you have a small health bar, say for example 30k, it will heal you for a percentage of the missing health, but it will be relatively small. But if you have 45, 50k, obviously that percentage will be a larger flat amount. So the way to take advantage of this skill, to be more efficient with it as far as your sustain is concerned and your survivability, is the higher the health you have, the less often you have to use it, because that percentage is a bigger chunk in raw flat health amount. Also, bear in mind, this gives you major mending, and if you activate this first and then fire this off, this 40% of your missing health back will actually be a heightened amount. So if we activate it, then fire it off, 49% of your missing health. So however much health you've got missing, 49% of that will come back in a massive heal. Now just bear in mind, of course, this can crit. And we have passives in our champion points area where this can really heighten. And if you hit maybe 0% health almost and put all your buffs and bonuses in place and take advantage of certain things that I will show later, you can actually heal to full health in one click. Very strong indeed. Make sure you understand these two skills and how they work up against each other before you go actively spamming them. Keep it active all the time. Make sure you use your Igneous Shield first, heal second. Pierce Armor is, of course, in our one-hand and shield skill line. This is very simple, but people misunderstand it even today. Now, very simply put, this is a taunt. This is how you gain aggro. Now, when you taunt something, you will see in the debuff counters that there will be a black square with a broken shield in it. That is how you know you have got aggro of that target. If that black shield or black background and shield is not there, then something's wrong. Someone else has got the aggro, or you just haven't taunted it yet, or the taunt fell off. So there are very few abilities in the game that allow you to taunt. The ranged taunt, which we'll get to from the Undaunted skill line. A heavy attack from an Ice Staff, and you can even use the set, the Tormentor, to use charge abilities, and that will taunt as well. There's very few ways to actually taunt, but that is what you're looking for. So be very aware of that debuff itself, and you might have to alter that inside your in-game settings to be able to apply buffs and debuffs visually so you can see them. But this is very simple. You taunt the enemy, it stays on you. If it falls off, it's going to run off. Don't let that happen. As a tank, this is your primary skill, and this is the one thing that you should do above all and shouldn't fail. DPSs have to keep up rotations if they want to do that kind of stuff. Healers have to keep people alive. You need to maintain a taunt. Don't let it fall off. Now, Absorb Missile is next. It's in the same skill line. It's actually the third ability that you unlock. Starts off as Defensive Posture. Morph it to Absorb Missile. Now, this will give you a massive damage shield, and it will protect you against direct ranged abilities. So arrows, magic balls, fireballs, whatever. It will protect you against one hit up to 14k, which can be made stronger. And it's scaled off of your max health, by the way. The heal is scaled off of your max health once it disappears. So once it's stripped, you'll get a heal, or if it runs out, you'll get a heal. Now, this is expensive, so you don't want to spam it unless you're in certain mechanics, but it's very powerful indeed. And again, this does scale off of your maximum health, so the higher your health, the bigger the heal. And of course, the damage shield itself does stack with Igneous, but it's a different type. This is all damage, this is projectile. Also bear in mind this heal here, the 9241, based on our max health, can be stronger if you use Igneous as well. So if we activate this real quick and then check the skill, you'll notice that a 25% increase has turned that into an 11.1k heal. Obviously, if we've got higher health from minor toughness, that can be almost 12. So Igneous first, heal, or this heal, second. Always use it after the shield. Next up is Bone Surge. This is very simple. This is in the Undaunted skill line. Not utilized anywhere near enough by people because people daren't take synergies, which they should. Fourth ability you unlock starts off as Bone Shield, morph it to Bone Surge. This is a huge 14.9k damage shields, and this scales off of your max health. Have you seen a theme here? This scales off of your max health to make it stronger for you and your group. This scales off of max health to make it stronger. This scales off of max health. So does this. Everything we're using here, apart from our taunt, scales off of max health in terms of our survival and help for our group to keep them up. Now also, when someone activates this, the synergy, they have to be quite close to the tank to do so. 5 other allies in your group will actually receive a damage shield equivalent of 30% of their maximum health. So the higher the health they have, the better for the strength of the shield. And it will grant them major vitality as well for 6 seconds, increasing all of their healing received by 30%. So, this here gives them a damage shield based off of your max health. This gives them a damage shield based off of their max health, and they do stack. So your healer's job is made really simple by you giving your group these big shields. This will protect them enough to make sure your healer can keep up and negate a lot of the incoming damage. This will also do that and give them a boost to the heals that they take, so it's much, much simpler. People must take this synergy though. I see a lot of people running past it. Literally, they can see it flash up on their screen on some live streams. They just ignore it. Don't ignore this. It buffs your group. Next up is Shield Discipline. This is in a one-handed shield skill line. This is one of my favorite ultimates in the game, to be honest, because it's got such an oh shit button application to it. It's in a one-handed shield skill line. You have to be level 50 to unlock this. Starts off as Shield Wall, morph it to Shield Discipline. Now this is 130 ultimate. It lasts 8 seconds and basically makes you block while you're running around doing nothing. So you don't have to hold block. You can swap bars, you can sprint, you can dodge roll, you can do anything you want. And you'll be blocking automatically versus all attacks for 8 whole seconds. And all of your one-hand and shield abilities cost you nothing. So if you're going in for a resurrection, block this, you won't be knocked over by most mechanics. There are still some that will knock you over when you're blocking. And also these abilities here, Absorb Missile and Pierce Armor. You can spam these as much as you like during this phase, and this will actually cost you no stamina whatsoever. You can even heavy attack from underneath this. This is a very powerful oh shit ultimate. I would keep it on your front bar at all times. This, especially in pickup groups, whether it be trials or dungeons, is a very useful skill. Back bar. This one is a flex slot. This is in the Vampire skill line. It is Elusive Mist. Starts off as Mist form, by the way. And for 4 seconds, you basically turn into a mist cloud. And you take 75% less damage from all sources. Now, there are some bosses that will still knock you down with a heavy attack, so just make sure you understand the mechanics as to which ones you can and can't get away with from this. You'll still absorb the damage, but you'll be knocked down. Whereas everything else in the game, if it's not a major boss, like the big one at the end, then you won't be knocked down at all. So if you're up against the Axes, for example, in Arthurian Archive, and they heavy attack you while this is active, you'll take 75% less damage, and they won't knock you down, because at the bottom here, as you can see, this removes and grants immunities to all disabling and immobilizing effects. But you cannot be healed, and your magic recovery is disabled, so just bear that in mind. Now this, like I said, is a flex slot. You can, of course, use Invigorating Drain, which is here in the Vampire skill line. This will actually heal you for 18% of your missing health, unless Major Mending and Healing Receives are considered, which means it's higher. And this will give you 5 ultimate, and this happens every 1 second for 3 seconds. So you channel this ability, and you will just constantly regenerate your ultimate and your health to a stupid amount. This is really good in situations where you can keep track of your buffs and debuffs and kind of sneak this in to get ultimate back. Or if you're in an off-tank situation, you don't really have to maintain too many taunts and buff up times and such. You can actually use this to just build war horns. It's a very useful skill, but it's not for every situation. Now, there is one more that you can put in here, and this is Sanguine's Altar. Now, this is in the Undaunted skill line. First ability to unlock starts off as Blood Altar, morph it to Sanguine Altar. This one actually has a longer duration and a cheaper cost. This will cost you health, so that's not a problem. We've got loads of it. We just take 2k health off, and all of a sudden we have an insta-cast ability. This has a massive area. This is a 28 meter radius. You can fill a room with this, and basically, while enemies caught by this are being attacked, they are attached with minor lifesteal, or affected with minor lifesteal. So all you have to do in your group is hit it. And if you hit it, people will be healed once every second for damaging them. That applies to you, that applies to other people. This is a buff for your entire group. And if their health goes low, they will actually be able to take a synergy of this, and it will heal 40% of their maximum health. Now, you can crit the heals off of this as well, and that is scaled off of their maximum crit stat. So the highest one of the two that works for them. If they have high spell crit, it will scale off of that. If they have high weapon crit, it will scale off of that. This is going to work in conjunction with our main set choices very, very well. But of course, other people can slot this instead, and if they do slot that, that gives you the opportunity to put in either Invigorate and Drain or Mist Form. This is a flex slot. You have 3 major choices. It's really up to you. But we're going to demonstrate how that works once we go to the gear and everything. Next up is Unstoppable Brute. This is in the Heavy Armor skill line. This is our resistance buff. We've chosen this one on purpose. This actually gives you a major resolve bonus, giving you physical and spell resistance equivalent of 5280 for 20 seconds. You always want to have a major resist buff on. If your group has already got this covered, perhaps if you have a Warden, that's great. Or there is a set in the game that supplies it as well. But if not, you'll want to use this. Also, for the first 6 seconds that you have this active, you are actually immune to disabling effects and knockback. So you won't be knocked down, and you won't be rooted and stunned and off balance and all that good stuff. However, this does nuke your movement speed by 65%. So for the first 6 seconds when you activate this, you will be much slower. So try and use this or activate this at a time where you're not needing to run from one place to another really, really fast. You'll have to keep an eye on your own buff timers for this, but it is quite important. And also, for each heavy armor piece that you wear, your break free cost is actually reduced by 5%. So break and free costs you barely anything at all. It's a very strong passive bonus to an overall resistance buff. But if you want to use other resistance buffs, like our own class one, you can, but this does affect your mag sustain. This is a stamina costing ability. It's a lot easier to maintain your stamina because you can simply heavy attack it. Magicka sustain is really high, but we want to make sure we can use these for the group much more than we do the resistance buff for us. So if you do choose to use the Draconic Power resistance buff, which you can use, that's entirely up to you. Either morph is fine. But just bear in mind, there's 2.6k Magicka every 20 seconds you're going to have to find, whereas you could just be saving for another couple of seconds or so and use this some more. It's a choice, but I honestly, personally preference this. It takes a little bit of getting used to, but it's a very useful bonus indeed, especially if you get caught by a heavy attack that wouldn't normally necessarily kill you, but it would knock you across the room. If you activate this at the right time, you can time it so you don't get knocked down. You can still heavy attack from underneath it. Really handy. In a Rage is really powerful, actually. This is our long-range taunt from the Undaunted skill line, but it's got a bit of a bonus to it for your group. So this is the Magicka morph of Inner Fire, called Inner Rage. This will taunt things from long range, and any of your allies outside of 15 meters of the activated taunt will actually be able to take a synergy. This will spread and do damage over 3 seconds, and then it will burst and do area of effect damage. If you are ranged DPS, make sure you take this synergy as much as you possibly can. It's really powerful, especially in a stack up where there's loads of clustered up enemies. But essentially for the tank, for us, this is a 15-second taunt. So you can taunt things from long range. They'll either come to you or at least they'll be aggroed on you. And then what you want to do is stab them when they get close so they have the debuff applied. They don't have the debuff with this. They only have it with this. But this will keep their attention so that it doesn't nuke the group, whatever it is. Also, next up, actually works hand in hand with these taunts, is Unrelenting Grip. This is in the Ardent Flame skill line. This is the 4th ability you unlock. Starts off as Fiery Grip, morph it to Unrelenting Grip. Now, this is quite simple. It does damage initially, but we don't really scale for damage anyway, so that's not important. But when you activate this, you'll get a 4-second movement speed, so you actually run 30% faster. That can be helpful from getting one place to another, especially if you chain something that can't be chained, because instead of moving stuff around the room, you just use it as a buff bot. Now, also, when you activate this, if the target can't be CC'd and can't be chained or anything like that, you'll actually get 100% of the magic back. So if someone CC's a target and you can't pull it anymore, but you press the button anyway, you didn't waste any resources. But essentially, above all, this pulls the target to you. It doesn't taunt. It pulls the target to you. Remember the taunt buff you're looking for? On the debuff counter, you're looking for a black square with a broken shield in it. That is when you know you have the taunt of the target. If you don't see that, you haven't taunted it. The chain will pull things into you, and then you can apply a stab to make sure it stays on you. Now, some enemies might run away, and that's what our next skill is for. This is used to chain stuff in. This is used to taunt stuff, as is this. And this is used to pin them in place. So in our Draconic Power skill line, we actually have Choking Talons, which is the 2nd ability you unlock. Starts off as Dark Talons, morphs to Choking. This will actually immobilize the targets for 4 seconds, which is on a different cooldown and different CC type to stun. This counts as a stun of sorts, so any stun abilities you try and hit the target with after this will not affect it for a moment of time. And if you try and pull something that is stunned, this won't work either. So you have to play off the group and be careful of what you do and don't use. But Immobilize is different. Immobilize doesn't stun, it just plants their feet where they are. So you can chain them in with this and then root them with this. So if you do pull in loads and loads of targets, you haven't got them taunted yet, and they're about to all run away, you can chain several in, pin them with this, and then apply your taunts afterwards, whichever order you want to do things in. This is your control skill area. Also, while this is active, by the way, it does immobilize the targets for 4 seconds, but at the same time it applies a debuff, giving minor maim to them for 10 seconds. Minor maim reduces the target's damage done to everybody by 15%. Although bosses can't be immobilized, this can still apply the minor maim debuff. So this is actually very, very important. It does have a synergy attached as well, so if anyone's close enough, they can pop that and do magic damage in area of effect. So in terms of usage, this is your range taunt if you need to, if something's too far away. This is your chain to pull stuff in if they are too far away and you want them at your feet. This is how you keep them at your feet, and this is how you get their aggression and debuff. This is also aggro, but this is how you debuff them at the same time. If you don't have a taunt on them, they will run away or they'll hit somebody else. This is also very important. Ranged taunts do taunt ranged targets, and it does bring their aggro to you, but it won't necessarily always bring them to your feet. If they're an elite target, for example, and they can't be chained and they can't be immobilized, but they're a ranged target, ranged targets will always try to hit you from their maximum range, usually 28 meters. So if you manage to taunt something from 28 meters away, then that's great. It's on you. But what about if you want it at your feet? Now, melee targets will always chase you around. They will stay as close to you as they possibly can. Ranged targets won't, and you need to figure out how to position stuff. So when you taunt something up close and run away, it will run with you. If you taunt something at long range, you need to overshoot their range in order for them to come for you, and then you need to come back in order to be where you want them to be. So what you should do in these situations is you taunt the melee guys and move backwards, and the melee guys will come with you. The ranged one will now come to you, stop running, and when you get to a situation where he is now where you want him, and then come back in and reapply all your taunts. The melee guys that followed you out will follow you back in, and your ranged target is where you want it. That's a tactic for all content. Pay attention to that one, practice it. It's going to take a little bit of work, but that helps a hell of a lot in stacking adds. Finally, on our back bar, we have Aggressive Warhorn. This is in our Assault skill line. It is our main ultimate on this skill line, of course, but we want to morph it from Warhorn to Aggressive Warhorn. This is very simply put. It's expensive as hell, and for the privilege of using it, your whole group gets an increase to Magicka and Stamina of 10%, yourself included, for 30 seconds, and for 10 seconds, your allies are granted a big bonus to Major Force, giving them 15% increased critical damage. Now, these can overlap, so be very careful if you are in your group and trying to overlap Warhorns on purpose to get that Major Force more often. Don't overlap these any more than 9 to 10 seconds over each other. Otherwise, you're just going to end up wasting time. If someone puts one out for 5 seconds and you reapply one straight away, you just wasted a potential 5 seconds of this buff. You can stack them and stagger them as much as you want, but be efficient with your timing. The actual max magic and stamina bonus, though, that really doesn't matter. Just keep that up for as long as you can. You can, however, go into the Earth and Heart skill line and unlock Magma Armor and morph it to Magma Shell if you prefer. This basically makes it so you can't die. You take a maximum of 3% damage from all sources for 12 seconds. It's a lot cheaper than Warhorn. Not as cheap as this, by the way. This is your major oh shit button, not this, but this is your protection ultimate. If you choose to use this when you activate it, allies next to you will be granted a damage shield equivalent of 100% of their max health for 10 seconds. So you're really hard to kill, and they all have really big bonuses to their damage shields, which stacks with Bone Shield and Ignis as well. So if you go in full Protector mode, put this on. If you want to get more damage out of your group, put this on. It's entirely up to you, depends on the situation. I pug with this guy in all manner of situations on the live stream. Sometimes situations are absolutely fine and you can just spam out as much damage bonuses as you want. Other times, you might need to be the one that protects the group, and this build allows you to do that. Now, of course, we're going to go into passives. These are incredibly important. You must understand how these work. Now, first off, combustion. If you apply a burning or poison status effect to the targets that you're up against, you will get benefits for them. First of all, they'll do more damage, which is not that important for us, but if you do poison, you will get 500 stamina back, and if you do burning, you will get 500 magicka back. Also, bear in mind this is very important for a possible choice for swapping out your monster set. This is a really important passive. Make sure you read this very clearly and understand its application. Also, the poison side of it, that's going to help a lot to our build. if we do poison status effects, we will get stamina back. We can actually perma block in some situations, but we're going to get to the gear later. When you deal direct damage with Ardent Flame ability, you also reduce their movement speed by 30% for 3 seconds. This is an Ardent Flame ability for chaining stuff in. Not only is it pulled to you, but it's slightly slower at running, so a lot easier to talons up afterwards. Increase the damage over time of Fiery Breath, Searing Strike, and Dragonknight stand abilities. We're not using that. You don't need to use this. This increases the damage of your Flame Area Effect abilities. We're not using any. And decreases the cost of your abilities that use poison damage by 25%. Again, we don't need this. Draconic Power is important for us. This increases the amount of damage you can block. This one, while a Draconic Power ability is active, your healing receives increased by 12%. Remember, for having our Dragon Blood active, we actually get Minor Vitality, increasing our healing received by 8%. This does also stack with that. And this is a Draconic Power ability. So while this is active, remember I told you this is a buff, not just a heal, you will actually benefit from this as well. So you end up with 2 heal and receive bonuses before you even start doing anything, as long as you keep this active. Then you add this for Major Mending on top of it, which is healing done, and you can see where this escalates dramatically. This increases your health recovery per Draconic Power ability slotted. This is not massively important because we're a vampire, but we'll take it anyway. But the one you do want, obviously, to take this passive is the actual benefit at the bottom, and this is the increase of 2 meters extra range on anything that's 5 meters. Our taunt is 5 meters, this increases it to 7. So you don't have to stand right in the enemy's face, although that's kind of where we live, but you will still reach from a little way out, and that helps actually on some specific trials, especially Veteran Arthurian Archive. If you follow the VAA All About Mechanics video, that's going to make a lot more sense there. This increases your spell resistance by 3300. This is very important. Get it. More spell resistance. Earthen Heart is incredibly important. This increases the duration of your Earthen Heart abilities. So our damage shield lasts 8 seconds, not 6. This gives you back resources. So if you use an ultimate, you actually get back 57 health, 46 magicka, and 46 stamina for every point the ultimate costs. So the more expensive the ultimate, the better. This is 242. This is 130. The lower, obviously, less resources you get back, but their application determines which one you should use in the situation. Obviously, you want to use the highest one as much as you can, but it depends what's happening at the moment. You might have to res everyone, in which case you've got no choice. You want your block ulti up and start resing people. Or everyone could be alive, and you just pump these out all day long. It's entirely up to you. But that passive is incredibly important. Make sure you get it as soon as possible. When you cast an Earthen Heart ability, you and your group get minor brutality for 20 seconds, increasing your weapon damage by 10%. Just for using Igneous Shields, everyone gets a damage shield. Up to 6 people get a damage shield, actually. But everyone also gets minor brutality. You give everyone a weapon damage bonus for keeping them protected. And this can be spammed because of our high magical recovery. So this is never going to run out. We have to use it once every 20 seconds. We can use it once every 5. If we want to pace it, we can use it once every 10. If not, just use it once every 20 just to keep this up. You won't run out with this. This is a 100% uptime on the buff. If you are in combat, you also generate 3 ultimate once every 6 seconds if you activate an Earthen Heart ability. Like I said, we can borderline spam this. If you want to be really, really picky with it and use it once every 6 seconds, you can do, and you will get ultimate back for doing it. This is kind of a this does everything bonus. And finally, on the this does everything, any non-stamina Earthen Heart ability cast with no cooldown will give you 990 stamina back. So while we're blocking with our stamina bar and using our high mag recovery to spam this and protect the group and keep our own heals up in terms of their strength for the Major Mending, this will give the group minor brutality, it will give you ultimate, and it will give you stamina back. Every single time you cast that, however, you get stamina back. So it's really, really good to keep your high mag sustain up, to spam this, to keep your stamina bar up, to keep you blocking, and to keep everybody else protected. It dips into every area here. It's very strong indeed. Make sure you get these passives. Sword and Board, you want all of these, of course, because we're using double Sword and Board. You can use an Ice Staff if you want, but this build isn't designed for an Ice Staff, so if you want to change it, that is your choice. But you're going to have to mess around with certain passives and bonuses on your back bar and skills to be able to fully utilize that. That is going to be saved for another video because I do have a tank that does use an Ice Staff. However, again, the choice is yours. But we're doubling Sword and Board. Reduces the stamina cost of your one-hand and shield abilities by 15% and reduces the cost of blocking. Very important, get it. This increases the damage of your one-hand and shield abilities, not that important. But also, the amount of damage you can block is also altered by 20%. You do want that. Improves your standard bash attacks. Your bash attacks gain an additional 500 weapon and spell damage. That's not that important because we don't really scale anything off of damage. But you will get a reduction to cost for your bash attacks for doing so. So this passive is also very important. We will need to bash to interrupt and such, so that helps. Increase the amount of damage you can block from projectiles at range by 14%. Get that. And this increases the movement speed, basically, while you're blocking. So when you're blocking, you are slower, unless you have the ultimate running. This makes you a bit faster during that. We're not using any of these, so we don't need them. Not using any light or medium, so we don't need those. This is very important. This will give you a physical and spell resistance equivalent of 362 for every single one piece of heavy you're wearing. We're wearing 7, so we get a massive bonus there. Constitution gives us a 28% health recovery bonus because we're wearing 7 pieces. It's 4% per piece. It's not that important because we're a vampire, but we'll take it. And above all, this is actually very important for this overall passive. You restore 108 magicka and stamina when you take damage for each piece of heavy armor equipped. And this can happen once every 4 seconds. So, added up, we actually get 757 mag and stam back for being hit. Every 4 seconds, that's a lot. This will increase your health by 2% per piece, so we've got a 14% health bonus there. Remember, our whole front bar, pretty much everything scales off of maximum health, so the stronger our health is, the stronger the abilities are. This increases the amount of stamina or magicka that you get back from your heavy attacks, whichever weapon types you're using. For having 5 pieces of heavy armor or more, so this is really effective for us. Make sure you do heavy attack to get your sustain back. And this increases your healing received for having 5 pieces or more of heavy on by 8%. We've got healing received in our Minor Vitality. We've got it in our Draconic Power passives. We've got it here. We've got a lot of healing received stacked up against the healing done we get from our Igneous Shields. If we do have to heal with Dragon Blood, remember, Igneous first, heal second. Our heals are huge. Don't forget this is scaled off of your max health. High health, high healing received. This is really strong. Don't need any of these. Vampire, you are going to want. Well, that's entirely up to you, but I would highly encourage you to do so because these bonuses here are nuts. This will give you a 10% bonus to both magicka and stam recovery, just for being stage 2 or higher. And for being stage 3 or higher, we are a tank. We are meant to take damage. That's our role. We get hit and everybody else doesn't, so we can make them stay alive. This reduces the amount of damage you can take while under 50% health. Up to 33% mitigation, depending on how low your health is. So because we've got such a huge pool of health, we can actually go quite low and take full advantage of this really strong mitigation passive. And because we've got such a high health bar, we can do that over a much longer period of time, then eventually take the Major Mending and take a massive bonus to our missing health heal. You can go low safely and take a larger heal less often and use less magicka for doing so, which we can then utilize this a lot more with to protect your group. Fighters Guild, we aren't really going to need any of these, but there is a passive you can take just in case you get kills, which you might, and I have done in several situations. This gives you 9 ultimate when you kill Undead, Daedra, or Werewolf. If you get the kill and blow, you get the ultimate. So get this passive. The rest are not important. We're not really using any of them. Mages Guild, not needed. No, no. Yes, we do need this. Any synergy you take in the entire game, if it's given to you off a player, will give you 4% of all of your resources back. That's a heal, 4% of your stamina back, and 4% of your magic back. Take the synergies. Doesn't matter what they are. They will benefit you in any way, shape, or form just for taking them in the first place. Then they will give you this bonus as well. If you take 10 synergies, that's 40% of your resources back. Yes, that's extreme, but that explains how important it actually can be because you could be out of juice right now. Any synergy will give you stuff back. This increases your max health, stamina, and magicka by 2% for each type of armor worn. Now, we are wearing one type of armor, so we get a 2% bonus to all 3 stats. The magicka and stamina stats are relatively low in comparison to that of a healer or a DPS, so it's not going to be a huge bonus for us to take the extra bonuses of the 2% for each one if we change to maybe 5 heavy, 1 light, 1 medium. And our max health will actually be the same, because if you take off 2 heavy pieces, we lose 4% health. If we put on 1 light, 1 medium, we gain 4% health for a tiny stat increase. The problem is there, our Constitution passive goes down, so our return when we get hit is less. And, of course, that does make our resistances go down in those passives as well, in the heavy armor passives, which means we have to find that resistance benefit elsewhere, which would probably affect your champion points, if not your traits. So it's really important to have 7 pieces and just dip on the other stats very, very slightly. they won't make a massive difference overall. So if you are using 1 light and 1 medium, or even just 1 medium or 1 light and you're using 6 heavy, it's not the end of the world. But if you want to optimize your heavy armor passives, 7 is the way to go. Not using any of these. Imperial. We are an Imperial. Also, by the way, you can be other races if you choose. You will have to wiggle their stats a little bit because every race has got different passives. But an Argonian actually works very, very well. And that will be explained when we get to the gear. There's a reason for that. This will increase your max health by 2k. Our skills scale off of max health. Remember, if you change your race and you have less health, these skills are going to be effective in terms of their overall output. This increases your max stamina, so we can have more to block with and more to use. And this reduces the cost of all of your abilities by 3%. When you deal direct damage, you heal yourself for 412, which can actually crit and scale off of healing received and healing done. And restore 333 magicka and stamina. This can happen once every 5 seconds. Now the potion passive for the Argonian is flat out. As soon as you pop a potion, boom, 4k resources back. This one is over time. It's once every 5 seconds if you deal direct, so light attack or a taunt or something like that. Over time, they're actually very close. It's almost 3k back for the Imperial, whereas 4k back for the Argonian. But bear in mind, of course, we've got higher flat stats here in health and stamina, so we benefit from those. So one race has a flat, boom, here's all your stats. This one, over time, and you can kind of burn some down, get some back, rather than, oh no, I took a potion while all my resources are full and I didn't actually utilize the passive properly. So that's a trade-off. But, of course, the healing received, the healing done, in fact, from the Argonian is going to benefit the setup. So it's your choice as to which one you take, but some of the skills will have minor fluctuations in their performance. Again, that will make more sense once we get to the gear. Next up is alchemy, of course. Medicinal use is incredibly important. We are using tripods, health, mag, and stamina back, and recovery for all three. If you have this passive, they'll last 30% longer. They'll last 47.6 seconds instead of 45. Use your potions all the time. Keep those recovery bonuses running. Now we're going to get into the gear. This is going to be a bit of a surprise for some of you, and some of you maybe not so much. Now, we're going to go over the body pieces first, actually. So we're still using leeching. Now, you can use this on the sword and board, or you can use it on the body. It's entirely up to you. But we're using the chest, belt, hands, legs, and feet. You can use jewelry instead if you want, just any order. And this will give you a max health bonus, a heal and receive bonus again, another max health bonus, and when you take damage, you have a 20% chance to summon a cloud of leech and poison under the enemy. Now, this is area of effect poison damage that ticks every 1 second, counts as damage over time. The damage done is what you get back in a heal per tick, per target. So if you have a stack up of 5 targets, that's 5 dot ticks of this amount of damage 5 times per tick with a heal, with heal and done boosting it from your Ignis shields and heal and receive boosting it from everywhere else. You get some massive heals from this. And basically all you have to do is get hit. This can happen once every 5 seconds and lasts 5 seconds. You can have 100% uptime on it if you're really lucky. Single target, very, very strong. Keeps you up. Mass targets, the more targets you have in the room, the harder you are to kill. It's really strong in all situations. But this also has another bonus to the setup that we can utilize just by firing this off. That's coming. Monster set, 2 choices here. Stonekeepers is very powerful indeed. This will give you a stamina bonus, a mag bonus, and a health bonus. Tri-stats, basically. And when you block an attack, you basically charge up an energy stack. Once you get 6 of them, you get 5,350 stamina and magic back, and you heal for 6,634. This can happen once every 14 seconds. So every 14 seconds, all you've got to do is block 6 hits, and your resource bars fill up. This is disgusting, very powerful indeed. But now we're going to start explaining where our resources come from. So this is poison damage, by the way. Every poison tick of damage that we do to all the targets that are hit by this can apply a poison status effect. If you apply that poison status effect, not only is it stronger than it should be, which is not that important, but it gives you 500 stamina back. So you can hold block, get hit, do damage with poison, get stamina back while blocking, and heal. And also, that means that you're holding block to take advantage of this to get more stuff back. This isn't built to perma-block, but there are situations where if you're so overwhelmed you have to pretty much hold block all the time, you will keep your resources up. As long as you keep your potions running as well, and occasionally heavy attack, if you need to, you're not going to run out. Now, there is another option for the helmet. Grothdar. This has a magic bonus first off, of course, but if you deal damage, you apply a circle of fire around you. It does fire damage every 1 second for 5 seconds with a 10-second cooldown. 5 seconds up, 5 seconds down. You have to apply damage. Now, we're not a DPS, so it's constantly trying to hit really, really fast. It's not going to proc this, and we're going to be really ineffective as a tank. However, leeching does damage. If this hits targets, it counts as damage done, and so do your poison status effects. This fires off of damage done. So the more you get hit, the more chance you have of firing this. This is fire damage. So we'll go back to our combustion passives. If you do poison status effects, you get 500 stamina back. If you do burning status effects, which comes from fire, you get 500 magicka back. So if you don't have Stonekeepers, it's not the end of the world, because some situations, if you get lucky, you can make this fire from being hit. This will do damage. This will do fire status effects, and you'll get both magic and stamina back for doing poison and fire damage at the same time. So to simply put again, get hit, fire poison damage. Do poison damage, get status effects, get stamina back. Do damage, Grothdar fires. Do fire damage, do fire status effects, get magicka back. That's your easier to acquire Stonekeeper set, if you like, and in pugs this can actually do a little bit of damage, so it's not too bad. Now, in terms of choices for your other 5-piece set, which you can go sword and board and jewelry, or you can go with body pieces. You can put this in any order you want. You can go with Yonocrins. Now, this will give you health, minor Aegis, reducing the amount of damage you take by 5%. That's mitigated via multiplicative calculations, by the way, so it's not flat 5% once you've got all your bonuses running, but it helps nonetheless. Stamina bonus. You get an extra health bonus if you have the perfected version, not if you don't. And when you taunt an enemy, 11 group members and yourself get minor courage for 15 seconds, increasing your weapon and spell damage by 129, and this can happen once every 8 seconds. This should never run out. If you keep your taunt up and reapply it before it runs out, this should never, ever, ever run out. Your whole group has got minor courage now, and this is the only way to get it in the game. So this buff can be from you or from somebody else, whoever's doing the taunts at the time. So if you're an off tank and you taunt ads, this will fire. If you're a main tank and you taunt the boss, this will fire. This is a choice. You can have this as your second set alongside Legion if you want. If not, you can go with Gallonways, which also, you don't have to have perfected for this. You can have the regular version and you'll just lose 1 health bonus. This has a health bonus, also has minor Aegis, healing received, and if you block, you have 50% chance to give 3 allies empower within 15 meters, increasing their light attack damage by 40%. This can happen once every second. Light attack damage is some of the highest damage in the game. So, boosting it and giving people empower, if they don't already have it, is a massive bonus to them. So, these are 2 group boosting choices that you have. And they are tank sets. They're designed for you to be protected and for the group to benefit from a damage output. However, if you want to use the newer setup, which is situational at most, but to help your group survive, you can use this. This is from the new Harrowstorm DLC, actually. This is from the new dungeons. This is on our sword and board and jewelry, because it's actually a light set. So we put it on sword and board and jewelry, we still have 7 heavy on. Defended on the front bar, defended on the back. Known honed on both shields and stamina on both, or health if you're already comfortable with your stamina. And this benefits us in many ways. It gives us a magicka recovery bonus, twice, which we need. Gives us a max magic bonus, increases the pool, it's not going to hurt anybody. And this is huge. When you heal yourself, or an ally, with an ability, you gain a Warman Aura of 10 seconds, or for 10 seconds rather. And while the Warman Aura is active, you and your group members inside of the circle gain 1.3 almost health every 1 second, and this reduces the cost of block, sprint, and dodge roll. And this can happen once every 12 seconds. All you have to do is heal. This heals you. And when it fires, so does this. And also, if you're in combat, this will heal you and your group. And when it fires, so will this. All you have to do is tank. Do everything you're doing now with no changes whatsoever, and by default, taking damage or surviving or healing or whatever in any way, shape or form will make this fire. It will help your group sustain in terms of their dodge roll and block costs. It will get that down, especially the squishies that don't have much in that bar, especially magic or DPSs and such, or even healers. And this will keep them alive. This is stupid for our own survivability as it is, but this can actually heal your group every 1 second alongside the funnel, and you can end up pumping out anywhere between 3 to 5k health every 1 second in area of effect for your group. This works in all content and is a good choice, especially if you're in a pug situation and people are struggling, or if you're in your own group situations and you just need that extra healing from your group. And this scales off of healing received and healing done. All we have to do is activate our igneous shields, and this is stronger. So if we activate it, that heal now goes up to 1.5. And this heal is healing done, scaled off of the damage that it does, but it increases the heal we do. So all of this worked together is kind of a jigsaw puzzle that is now finally complete. Well, almost. We're going to get into the champion points. So, these you can change, depends on the content, but this is a very good flat starting point. 72 into Ironclad to reduce the amount of direct damage we take. 56 and 56 into everything else for Hardy and Elemental Defender. And 48 into Fixed Skin for damage over time. Bear in mind, of course, Unchained reduces the cost of your next stamina ability use within 5 seconds of breaking free by 80%. So anything that you use after breaking free with stamina is cheaper. This will increase your healing received. And this increases our physical resistances for wearing 5 pieces of heavy armor or more. And we need this because our physical is less than our spell, because we're a Dragon Knight and we have that extra bonus to spell resistance, not physical. So we plug the gap a bit here. Field position is very important, of course. When you resurrect another player, while doing so, you actually take less damage. We're tanky as hell anyway. Why not take this passive? It comes free anyway with these. And because we've got more than 30 points in this skill line as well, or this champion point tree even, we actually get this bonus, which is when you resurrect someone, you actually give them magical recovery for 8 seconds, which is quite helpful. 48 points into Warlord to reduce the cost of break free. Remember, our immovable brute gives us a cost reduction to break free as well. This helps towards our recovery if we heavy attack. Gives us 13% extra back. That stacks of our heavy armor passives is 25%. This increases our mag recovery, so 75 points into here. 72 into Shadow Ward to reduce the cost of blocking. That I'm going to get to in a second. I did miss something out in the gear. And this reduces the cost of our dodge rolling. Don't forget, of course, we do have the treasure passive. So if you are farming in pugs and all that good stuff, your treasure hunter does contribute towards opening chests and you can get better loot. 56 into Elfborn. We can crit our main heal, but we don't need massive amounts of points into here because we can heal almost a full just with this. 75 points into Bless as well to increase our healing done, which we do a lot. That includes our heal from our Hitty or however you pronounce it set, also our leeching and all that good stuff as well. This is very important. When you block 3 spells within 10 seconds of each other, so over 30 seconds, if you do it once every 10 seconds, they stack up, and you get a bonus. Your next ability after this bonus is applied within 5 seconds will critically strike. Igneous Shields does not crit in any way, shape or form, so you can apply Igneous Shields and it won't consume this. However, your Dragon Blood can crit. This guarantees a crit. So all you have to do is fire off Igneous Shields before you fire off your Dragon Blood. If you've stacked up 3 blocked spells, you'll see this symbol, this actual tree in your buff timers. If that's there, and you time it right, you can heal from 0 to full in 1 click. There's a video on my channel called Vengeance OP that will explain it a bit more. That's a really important passive. Most people skip it. You get it, but they don't pay attention to it. Nothing in here, we don't need anything. This is important. 64 into Mighty. 72 into Thermotouch. Why is that? This is poison damage. This is damage over time. Both of these contribute to the leech and damage. The more damage you do, the bigger the heal. The bigger the heal, the more healing done we do, the bigger the healing received once we get it. These all stack up together. Very important indeed. 3 points into piercing just for the hell of it. We've got nowhere else to put it. The exploiter passive, obviously, if anything goes off balance, we actually get a 10% increase to damage. That includes all of our stack up bonuses towards leeching, which will then obviously give us a higher heal. And we have Last Stand. So if we do go really low health, which we can safely because of the amount we have and because of our vampire passives and all that good stuff, we actually get Major Heroism for 9 seconds, increasing our ultimate regen. This can happen once every 20. So if you do go low health, don't panic. Igneous on, big heal, take advantage of that ultimate regen. Now, I missed something, didn't I? This set here, our block cost is down. While this is active, our block cost is down, as is everybody else's. So although we have passives for that, and we have traits for it, we also benefit from this as well. Yes, it's diminished returns, but it still counts. Now, traits, you want defending on the front and the back. Doesn't matter what glyphs you use, it's entirely up to you. You can use a small crusher if you want, you can use a damage shield if you want. I actually prefer immovable potions, so if I hit trash with this, I can actually become immune to knockdown, which is quite helpful, even if it's outside the cooldown or the buff timer of immovable as a skill. We have reinforced on the head, reinforced on the chest, reinforced on the shoulders, sturdy on everything else, mag recovery, and health on all 3 jewelry pieces. Now we have chosen deliberately, at the very beginning you may have noticed this, the ritual, which will increase our healing done by 10%. That is to stack up alongside everything that we do. So leeching is stronger for us, it will fire loads anyway, and this ability here, once we put all our bonuses in place, will actually help heal the group. We can heal a stupid amount every 1 second, and it makes everyone a lot less squishier, while you protect them with this. Now really all you need to do is keep up your resistance buff. Make sure your food is on, obviously. Keep up a heal of any description. Keep your igneous shields up, and keep your taunts coming. That's it. Damage shields need to be up all the time. Control the room as and when you need to. Keep your blood funnel up if you can, because it doesn't cost any magicka to do so. And every 12 seconds, that will fire for 10. Your blocks are cheaper, your dodge roll's cheaper, you're healing the entire group. Keep your healing done up. That will boost the heals of the set. Very important indeed. Like I said, you've got choices. It's up to you whether you go for the extra damage for the group or extra survivability for the group, but either one works just fine. And your survivability as a tank makes you really, really strong and stops the healers needing to give you all the big heals. There are some mechanics where you might need them, but the rest of the time, you're not taking the focus of the healer, which means everyone else can get healed instead, and there's a lot less dead squishies. Plus, you can help the healers like a team by keeping them up with their damage shields. Very helpful indeed. Enjoy the build. Hopefully it wasn't too boring. Hopefully it wasn't too confusing. Hopefully you now have a better understanding of how to approach this particular build. Yes, there are some choices. Depends on the person. Depends on the application of it at the time. Depends on the content. But it's a hell of a lot of fun and it works. So, first of all, thank you all very, very much for watching. I hugely appreciate the support. If you are not subscribing already, please do hit that button. It is free. Don't forget to hit the notification bell as well so you know when I'm uploading videos. Also, if you would like to support outside the channel, there are some links in the info section for Patreon, Twitter, Facebook, and of course the website xynodegaming.com, where all the written guides are as well, including this one. Once again, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye.